Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from BidAmount.com and PL Combs Asian Art. And today's Friday, June 9th, 2017. And today, as always, we're going to take a look back at last week's auction results on eBay, see how things did, and talk about a couple of other things along the way, as we always do. I hope I don't digress too much. But at any rate, here we are. And there were some pretty good results last week. And before we get going, Josh Chamberlain, his username is Juice1499. He's a dealer up in New Hampshire in this area. He's got a sale, an auction starting tonight on the 9th, running through the 19th, a 10-day unreserved sale. Many of you are familiar with them, with no reserves. 250 lots of Chinese and Japanese stuff. Some nice mixed metal pieces, some bronzes, and so forth. So you want to keep your eyes out on that. All right, a little bit of news there. And on this, a few of you have been asking me, I got emails this week from quite a few people asking me why I didn't put this jar in last week's newsletter. It's got 140 or 150 watchers at this point from what I'm seeing on the web. It's had almost 2,000 views. It's up to, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000. It's getting all kinds of action. Looks like a nice antique Yuan Dynasty jar, and it's a fake, okay? And many of you just saw this and went, oh yeah, it's a copy. But it's a knockoff. These copies, one of the things they've been doing, I think it's to give them a sense of authenticity, they're doing these weird splashes of glaze here and there, dripping it down the inside. That's all intentional to make it look like sloppy handwork from an earlier time. And there's the bottom of it. That is not the foot rim you want to see on an early jar of this type. It's close, but it isn't, no cigar. At any rate, this is it. It is not a real thing. It is a copy. As many of you know, if this were real, it would be worth, upwards of, 7 figures. So if you're bidding on it, stop. If you've placed a bid on it, you might want to pull them. And you can see what it brings. But there's a pretty good chance this may be removed from eBay before it closes, just as a heads up. And then there's this pen and ink drawing that sold last week. This was a nice one. It was a probably a late 19th century example, well inscribed, nice, very sort of literati style landscape here with some studios in the foreground and nice mist wafting through the mountains. Beautifully done. Nice example. And it did pretty well. It brought almost $1,000. It went for $990. A very, very attractive piece of artwork there, if you like them. And speaking of art, as I've said in other videos, sometimes you see these landscape scenes on Chinese enamels that are just really striking. And this was another one. This was a 19th century example, but beautifully done. And I love the sort of soft lime green diaper border with those cartouches and this very attractive classical figural landscape with the rocky outcropping, sort of over-exaggerated. A nice piece. And it was in pretty good shape. And it did all right. It brought $427. I think that's a pretty good value. It's a 19th century piece. He had a Qinlong Marken period. I don't agree with him. I don't think it was Marken period. I think it's probably a 19th century one. But regardless, it did fine. It was a nice looking thing. And then there was this sort of Neuer Straits Famille Rose plate with barbed rim on it, which is a nice feature on these. You see barbed rims on early Celadons and other porcelains, and they used it here. And it has these Buddhist symbols with lotuses running around the rim with the phoenix in the center. Beautifully done Famille Rose enamels. Here's the back of it. Pretty typical foot. These are all done in the late 19th century. This is a nice one, though. It brought $466, but very crisply painted. Nicely done. I didn't know who the seller was. Abby Antiques. I think she's somebody new. We haven't seen her before. You never know on here. And there was this jar. This was a rather nice, big transitional period 100 boys jar. Always popular. It had been drilled, as you can see. Here's a shot of the bottoms. It had been a table lamp at one point. What's interesting is that they managed to hang on to the lid. Usually when they make lamps out of these things, they don't keep the lids. This one they drilled right through the lid. I don't know if anybody looked at this and they noticed that. They rather skillfully done. They lamped this thing, including the lid, which is a pretty good trick. And at any rate, it did just fine with that, and it had an old bit of restoration. When you look at this, you can see it up in here. There's some restoration here in the shoulder and up in here. Often when you see restoration like this, just as a little tip, it was probably done a while ago, and it was probably done to cover a crack, not a break, but a crack. The restorers used to use silly amounts of overspray and whatnot to cover up faint cracks. And as they age, they turn yellow, they turn green, and sometimes you can just remove the stuff, and all you end up with is a very faint hairline, which is much more attractive. And then there was this Tatsa that went up, iron red with this nice green wave border, very typical for one of these. Here's an image of the bottom. If it'll come up, there it is. It's got some characters on it. It's a late 19th century example, but well done. And it brought $500 on the nose, okay? And that was a pretty good price for that, all right? And then we had this Republic. There's a couple of Republican things coming up. This was a nice Republican plate. You know it's Republican because of the way it's decorated, these sort of grapevine-y deals coming down here, and the way these leaves are drawn on these bamboo trees is very, very typical of early 20th century work. But I like the way the flower was done on this. The Famille rose enamel here, the decoration on this was good quality enameling all through here, and nicely variegated leaves and so forth. And there's a picture of the back. He had it dated as Guangzhou. I think it was a little later than that, but it doesn't really matter. It was a nice looking plate, and it brought $430. I think if it was Guangzhou market period, probably would have brought $1,500 to $2,000. And then you see very similar enameling again on this pair of pots, planters, another seller had up. Nicely done with the sort of 100 boys pattern, and again, good quality enameling, nicely shaped pots as well. And this is what you see on the bottoms of these. The 20th century pots, they tended to add a second hole. And these pots were done in sets. They were put in presentation boxes. And they nearly always had under trays. These did not have their under trays. But notice the quality of the work. These were very nicely done. So they didn't have the under trays, so they brought $1,000. If you come across them with the under trays at a show or an auction or wherever you're out looking, they're generally worth in the $1,800 to $2,500 range. The under trays add quite a bit to the value. So if you can get them with those, by all means do it. All right. And then there was this was nice. This was a big Swatow it was a shallow bowl, but a large one. There's a Coke can next to it to give you an idea of scale. It's a very classic example with this central reserve of the towered buildings, and there's another section of them here with a bridge over it. Sometimes this is done so messily you can't even tell what it is. This they did a good job, and the lattice diaper pattern around the cavetto between these cartouches is very nicely drawn. It's very tidy and neat. They're not always that tidy or that neat. And here's a picture of the bottom of it. And this is pretty generally what these Swatow pieces look like, if you're wondering. Areas and they're not always like this, but this one has missing glaze in places and sort of swirls and dabs and kiln grit around here. And then typically they sort of use up what was left of the brushes, and they do these sort of light blue dabs and swirls around the back just for the heck of it. They were almost like an afterthought. This one did pretty well. It brought $971, but it was in very good condition, so I think this was a rather good buy. I think somebody got a very nice buy on that. Big piece. And there was this beautiful apple blossom Chinese silver tapered tankard with a branch handle, and had these wonderful little applied feet on the bottom. Here they are with flowers on them. Had little post feet on it, and there is a signature on there. And it weighed, oh, there he goes. He even put it on a scale. And it was a nice little pot, nice little tankard, and or as they say in Europe, a can. And about $731. So Chinese silver continues its way. Then we had this on last week. It's an underglazed blue Famille rose our brush rest. Nice one though. It's scroll formed. I like scroll formed scholar's object. There it is. Nicely done. And this is also freehand and rolled out. And then they put it in the kiln. And when they put it in the kiln, if I can get this to show, there it is. See this little spot here? They put a spur under there. You don't see spurs very often on Chinese porcelain, but on occasion they use them. And in this case, they put one right there to keep this thing from collapsing in the kiln when they made it. It holds it up. They're very tiny. They're like little tiny columns. And then when they're done, they just snap it off and off goes the piece. Because you can see here that some kiln gunk or some glaze ran down and stuck to the floor of the kiln, despite having feet on it. So whatever it was ran a little thicker and stuck some there. But regardless, this was a nice example, and I'm not convinced it's Chin-Lung, but the seller thought it was, but no matter. It brought $1,165 and good quality. I thought it was an early 19th century one. And then there was a seller that had this. This is a pretty attractive Yuan Dynasty double fish Celadon bowl with a flattened diverted rim. Really nicely done. Had a nice finish on the back with these acanthus leaves running around it, or lotus leaves, and a little bit of sticking in the glaze occurred. I mean, in the kiln occurred here. You can see where the chips came off, and you left behind this rather nice gray paste, which is what you get if you crack open an early Lungkorn Celadon. And this bowl was originally, it's got a nice old label on here from R&G McPherson. Dealers. They're in London. They're good dealers. We've done business with them. They're nice people, and they have their own website. So if you want to check it out, buy from them directly, go to there. R&G McPherson, London. Nice people. And this bowl sold for $1,340, which I don't think was an unreasonable buy at all. Nice example. And then we had this rather nice big dragon robe. This was interesting. It was a superbly well done robe. The sleeves were missing. It was missing the ends of its sleeves, but the needlework on it is just terrific all the way around. Nice, very, very heavy sort of couchwork gilt thread, beautifully done. Here it is open. Didn't even have a liner in it. Okay, everything was sort of missing out of this robe, but the needlework on it, the silkwork, the wave skirt at the bottom was beautifully done. The dragons were beautifully done, and it brought $8,760. It's a good price. I suspect it's going to end up going to China and having some work done on it, and you may see it again in an auction somewhere. All right, and then there was this. This was a rather nice Egremont horn, I believe, had this. A rather nice tang melon-formed pot with its original some iron red pigment stand under it. Good looking. I like the stem handle on the top, and it brought $867, which is a perfectly fair price for a nice early piece of pottery. I think you're going to see early pottery getting a lot more interest in the coming year or two. And then there was this. Who had this? This was also Arthur had this. Arthur Potts had this. He had a big week last week. There were a couple of sellers. Had a lot of stuff up. And this was a very nice 18th century deep bowl. Some people call them early 19th. I tend to think this is probably an 18th century one, with a figural scene in the center, with very simple against a blank background of men and women sort of relaxing outside, enjoying the day, and beautifully done. Here's the look of the foot on it. That's a pretty straight up 18th century foot to me, and a little patch of missing glaze in the middle. It's a nice example. And it brought $725, which I think is a fair price, and it was in perfect condition, according to Arthur. All right, and then we had this nice looking 19th century slab constructed square form enameled brush pot, small brush pot. Nice little scholar's object. Here's a side shot of it, rustically painted. He thought it was early. The seller thought it was early 19th century. I tend to think of these as late 19th century, judging by the glaze and so forth. But regardless, it did fine. It brought $402. It was a good-looking little piece. And this nice Wutsai Tang Shi period double-handled covered pot, covered bowl. Often you see these bowls without the lids. This was kind of nice to have the lid with it, and I suspect the buyer recognized that. It did have a hairline here in the foot. It's either a firing line or an old damage line. I can't tell from here. But nonetheless, it did fine. It brought $666. All right. If it was perfect, it probably would have brought a little more. And then seller HFX had this. He had a good sale up. He had about 70 lots up, as I recall. And among them he also had a very nice piece of coral that brought $2,000 or $3,000 of a Kuan Yin. But he had this hare's fur bowl, a nice one. I love the blackened bottom of it. Nice thick rim, sort of a real dry brown pigment, and it came with its Japanese box. As many of you know, and the form was nice. This is a nice shape for one of these bowls. Very well done. Really stands up. These Japanese boxes are very popular with these. The Japanese were avid collectors of these pieces for the tea wares, for tea ceremony, and very often they come with boxes. If you remember back to the Fujita sale that was so successful a few months ago, all the bronzes had their own boxes with labels on them. Very classical sort of Japanese way of collecting. And this bowl brought $1,275, which was a nice price for that. And then last is this is sort of Kwanjanware Republican or late 19th, early 20th century bowl with two birds on it. You may not notice it. There's one bird here, but there's also another one over here. He looks like the leaves. He sort of blends in with these citron finger devices on branches. Nice looking script. I'm sure somebody out there looked up the signature on it. It's got a stamp marked seal on the bottom. Those aren't drawn on. Those are sealed, stamped on. So it was a production bowl that was given to a very good artist to paint. There it is. And it did great. It brought $1,100. Nice example. All right. And that's it. There's a lot of stuff on there that closes over the weekend, and we're updating the newsletter today. All right. And just a quick thing here. We're almost up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which really surprises me. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you just come back on your own. Subscribe. And you'll get a notice every time we add a new video, because we do 1 or 2 a week. And we did one this week on the Christie's Hong Kong auction results. If you haven't seen it, they had here's a view of it. They did very well. It was a heck of a series of auctions, and they had a couple of pieces that brought over 10 million, and I talk about them in the video. So that's about it. So thanks for coming in, and subscribe if you haven't done so, and sign up for the newsletter and get the heads up each week when it's sent out, and see the catalog that we put together for the week. And thanks so much for visiting, and have a wonderful weekend. See you next time. Bye-bye.